Om Vakradunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha Shruti-Smriti-Purananam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya-kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti-bheda-vibhagine Vyomavad-vyapta-dehaya Dakshina-murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshina-murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam-anusandhadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutah स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्कपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः. So namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaskaram Guruji.
So we were seeing this shloka in the last class, isn't it? Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaah agama payino nityaah tam stitikshasva bharata. So here Krishna is giving a very important advice to Arjuna and through Arjuna to all of us, which is as Krishnanji said, what you cannot cure, you have to endure. Tan titikshasva bharata. Hey Arjuna, endure them. Kan titikshasva, endure what? Endure the experience of the pair of opposites like cold, heat, pleasure, pain, etc. And which are the result of the contact of the sense organs with the sensory world. Whenever the sense organs are coming into contact with the sensory world, there is going to be some output, some result. That could either be pleasure or it could be pain. You cannot have an option there. You cannot say, I only want pleasure, I don't want pain. You cannot say that. Because you can't do anything about them. But what is important to understand that if there is a pleasure, it is not going to last long. If there is a pain, that is also not going to last long. All these pleasure and pain, this pair of opposites, let us put it in a general term, they are of the nature of arrival and departure, coming and going. Therefore, they are all impermanent. Therefore, what you should do, develop the mental strength, boost your psychological immunity to endure them. Because this coming and going of the pair of opposites is a fact. Therefore, when Krishna was telling Arjuna, endure them, titikshasva, he was not only offering an advice, but he was being objective about it. And what is the need for this objectivity? Because situations are constantly changing. As I said, the pleasant as well as the unpleasant will constantly change. To think that only pleasant ones change and not the unpleasant ones is also not correct. Therefore, when change is the order of all these things, what is there to worry about? What are you going to gain by worrying about that? For a person who is objective, who has a certain appreciation for what the world and its situations are all about, there is no reason for sorrow. These are all just situations to face and act upon, whether you act upon it outwardly or inwardly. But there is no reason to be sad about them. And this Krishna highlights by pointing out that this anatma, it is ephemeral. The anatma has to be ephemeral. He says, do not try to change this fact. Therefore, what should I do? I should change my attitude towards them. I should develop mental strength. And if the mental strength is not there, what could we pray to the Lord? Well, we cannot ask the Lord to change the law of karma or the cosmic order for our convenience, isn't it? If everyone starts doing that and the God also being Karunya Murti says tatastu to everyone, you can imagine the chaos which will happen. Therefore, pray to the Lord for the inner strength, the tiksha, sahana shakti, so that I can accept the arrivals, I can also accept the departures, and that is called a titiksha. And this faculty of endurance of our inner strength, which is called titiksha, is very important, especially for a mumukshu, for the one who is on a spiritual journey. This mental endurance, not to react immediately, not to get irritated immediately, not to punish the other person immediately as a reaction. Because if we observe, all these our reactions in terms of getting irritated, angry, revenge, all these things, they happen because our endurance is very less. So when the endurance is less, we get irritated very quickly. And that irritation alone becomes anger, and anger alone becomes himsa. So in the final analysis, the lack of endurance alone is the cause of all later problems that we face in life. And this we can, day in and day out, we experience at our home. Forget about office environment. At home itself we experience. Suppose we are doing something and we call, say, our son who is doing something else, call him for some help. So since he is doing something else, he might not come immediately. He takes some time to come. And there are people, just because there has been a few minutes delay for the son coming, they get irritated. They shout at the boy. They don't even have the patience to wait for a few minutes. They feel that the boy is insulting them, the father. And this is one of the problems of our age. With all this fast food, etc., we want everything fast. The moment you think about it, it should happen. That is what we want. And the result is our patience is eroding. And this we have experienced even in restaurants, when there is a slight delay in serving, some people I have seen, they get so irritated, they start shouting, what kind of a service you have got, this, that, and all that. Traffic signals, another example. Great example, in fact. People will stop at the red signal. When they stop, we can clearly see their impatience. If they are in a two-wheeler, they will be going on, revving up the engine. The moment that red light goes, they will immediately shoot. They want to shoot. Totally impatient. So the other side signal turned when yellow. It has not even become green. These people on the red signal will rush as if they are in some running race. All vehicles, whether it is two-wheeler, four-wheeler, three-wheeler, everything will race as if they are going to reach some, win some gold medal. Every traffic signal in every big city, we can see this, especially during peak hours. Therefore, what is happening? The lack of patience is the cause of irritation. Irritation leads to anger. Anger leads to hinsa, hurting our children, hurting our family members, many times hurting our spouses. And therefore, Krishna says titiksha is an important virtue. And he says, without this titiksha, Atma Jnanam will not come. In fact, for Atma Jnanam, lot of patience is required. As Swami Paramathananda says, Moksha program is not a crash course. It takes preparation, deep study, contemplation. And at every stage, lots of patience is required. For that matter, any deep study requires certain mental makeup. And one of the qualifications for this mental makeup is titiksha, an ability to endure the pair of opposites like sukha, dukkha, sita, ushna, etc. Shita, shitoshna, etc. Therefore, one who is calm and tranquil, he alone is fit for this knowledge. And this Bhagavan Krishna highlights in the next sloka. Krishna says, without titiksha, self-knowledge is not possible, and without self-knowledge, moksha is also not possible. So we will read the next sloka. Yam hi navyatayan kete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukam dhiram so vritatvaya kalpate. So Anvaya is, He Purusha Rishabha, Yam Purusham Yete Samadukka Sukham Na Vyatayanti Sahahi Dhiram Amritatvaya Kalpate. We'll first see the word meanings, then go to the explanation. He Purusha Rishabha, O prominent among men. That is, he is addressing Arjuna. It's a Sambodha. Yam Purusham, the person who, ete, these two, means the sense organ and sense objects. Samadukka Sukham, the one who is equanimous in pleasure and pain. Dhiram, one who is discriminating, one who is wise. Na vyatayanti, he is not affected, he is not disturbed. He indeed, amritatvaya, for gaining liberation, for gaining moksha, kalpate, is fit. So he says, O Arjuna, prominent among men, the person whom these two, the sense organs and the sense objects and their interaction do not affect, do not disturb, and who is equanimous in pain and pleasure, and who is discriminative, who is wise indeed he alone is fit for gaining liberation, that is moksha. This is the meaning of the short meaning of this sloka. So in this verse, Krishna addresses Arjuna as Hey Purusha Rishabha. Rishabha literally means a bull. So here Purusha Rishabha means a bull among men. And the comparison is beautiful because among large herds of cattle, the stud bull always stands out because of its size, a big hump on its back, etc. So just as a bull cannot be missed among hundreds of cows, so too Arjuna stood out as the most exalted of men. That is the beauty of this Sambodhana, Purusha Rishabha. Even those who did not know Arjuna, who Arjuna was, would have acknowledged him because of his brilliance, the tejas. He was a man of great accomplishment and a highly recognized person in the society. So he was addressed as Purusha Rishabha, the most prominent among men. And in the previous sloka, Krishna had said that the nature of impermanent things cannot be changed. Therefore, learn to endure them, learn to accept them. Now, the question in our mind will be, does that mean that we have to take everything as unchangeable? Does it mean that everything has to be accepted as given? If that were the case, mankind would never have progressed. There would never have been any innovations. If nothing can be changed, it will lead to what? Stagnation. As somebody said, change is the only constant in this world. Therefore, we need to understand a little more about what Krishna meant by endurance or titiksha. What Krishna is emphasizing is that everything in this world has a nature which cannot be changed. So it is not that you cannot change the shape of things, the color of things, what I would say, nama rupa of things. But what cannot be changed is the very nature of a thing. Many times, because of our ignorance, we take the nama rupa as the nature of the thing. And then we will feel that we can change the nama rupa. That is not what Krishna is saying. Everything has got an essential nature. For example, the nature of fire is heat. That cannot be changed. The nature of water is coolness. That cannot be changed. Even if we try to change it artificially, it will soon regain its own nature. But it is not that the change is not possible. We need to have the discriminative understanding of what can be changed and what cannot be changed. And it is only those that cannot be changed need to be accepted, they have to be endured. Because resistance to a nature will only cause sorrow to us. So here Krishna is talking about the first quality of a wise person, which is endurance. Understanding what can be changed, what cannot be changed. He says that Purusha is dhiraha. That human being is really an intelligent one, a discriminative one, who understands this. In fact, the word dhiraha has also got a meaning in the language as the one who is courageous. But here, we have to take the meaning as discriminative one, that also is dhiraha. And what is the discrimination being talked about? In general, in Vedanta, we talk about Viveka, Atma, Anatma, Viveka. And as I was saying in the last class satsang, there is a beautiful prayer called Serenity Prayer, which many of you would be aware of. It says, "O Lord, give me the strength to change what can be changed. O Lord, give me the strength to accept what cannot be changed. And O Lord, give me the wisdom to know the difference between what can be changed and what cannot be changed." Such a beautiful prayer. This is what the person who actually has got the result of this prayer is a dhira. He knows what can be changed, what cannot be changed, and then he has learned to accept that which cannot be changed. He will certainly endeavor, put in his efforts to change what can be changed. This is something that about endurance we have to understand very carefully. If we don't understand this, what we will do, what can be changed, we will accept it. Because there are many things for which remedies are available. So when remedies are available, Bhagavan is saying, don't blindly accept the situation. Put forth your efforts and try to change that. But in our experience, we have seen most people blindly accept what can be changed and they put forth efforts to change what cannot be changed. And therefore, what is important is the discrimination to know what can be changed and what cannot be changed. On a broad level, one thing is there. The changing nature of the world cannot be changed. That we must understand first. It's a top level understanding. The world given change is the order of the world. We cannot change that. The sun cannot be made a cool sun. Isn't it? Therefore, a dhira, a wise person, a discriminative person knows what to accept and what not to accept. And what is the benefit of this acceptance? Ete na vyatayanti. So ete means the pairs of opposites which are generated by the contact between sense organs and the sense objects. In this context, sukham, dukkham due to matra sparsha hai. Matra and sparsha, contact between the sense objects and sense organs. In short, the changing world of body, senses, mind, sense objects and their effects, they do not disturb a wise person who has learned to accept things which cannot be changed. Na vyatayanti. They do not disturb his mind, irritate his mind. Therefore, what he does, when a beautiful rose blooms, he appreciates the rose. He does not blindly turn away in the name of philosophy. He does not say, this is all mithya, I won't appreciate it. He appreciates the beautiful rose as even it blooms. And when the rose fades, withers, falls off, he accepts that also without complaining. Oh, you see, beautiful rose, it was in the morning so nice, now it is fading, the rose is falling and all that. He understands that that is the nature of the rose. It will bloom, be there, give happiness to everybody who sees that. After some time, it will fade and it will wither away. He accepts that also. So a wise person, a discriminative person, any situation of arrival, he welcomes. Any situation of departure, he does not resist. And here Bhagavan Krishna is just giving an example. Sama dukkham sukham. We can say sukham dukkham instead of narrowly interpreting it as happiness and sorrow. We can say towards all favorable and unfavorable situations, he is samaha, equanimous, has the same attitude. Therefore, he navyatayanti, he is not disturbed. And such a person enjoys a mind which is fit for Vedantic inquiry, philosophical inquiry. A disturbed mind cannot study Vedanta. It will always be worried about the happenings around. Why this is happening, why that is happening, why so and so is doing this. Including if they have seen some soap operas in the TV and all that, they will be actually, the mind will be agitated as to why this particular character did this, said this, acted in this manner. Can there be such wily people in the world? So many questions. They will be busy in trying to sort out all these things only. Where is the time and inclination and the free mind for studying Vedanta? And such a mind, which is occupied with all these worldly things, will also have a lot of complaints. So a complaining mind, an irritating mind cannot probe into the truth of oneself. What is Vedanta? Vedanta is nothing but an internal journey probing deep into the truth of what I am really am. Who am I is the probe. Similar to the probes that these NASA and all sent to Mars and things like that and all. Even they have now sent a probe to the sun. This is a probe inside ourselves. It is a journey within ourselves. What is my real nature? Who am I really? What is the truth of myself? That is what is the probe. For that, you require a calm mind, a composed mind, a tranquil mind, a mind which is free from every other pursuit and only focused on this one pursuit. So therefore, Krishna says, Saha, such a tough mind, such an equanimous mind, which has got an inbuilt shock absorber, like we have got in motor vehicles and all that, right? The shock absorber in the cars or vehicles, motor vehicles are there to help us to do what? To drive through rough roads and potholes. When the road is smooth, silken smooth, we don't need any shock absorber, isn't it? It is only when the roads are rough, we require shock absorber so that our back and our neck and all are kept safely. And it is not possible to make all the roads smooth. It is not possible to keep them pothole free also all the time. Therefore, in order to traverse these roads relatively smoothly, a shock absorber is provided in the vehicles. This we have to understand and develop that shock absorber within us. So similarly, we cannot change every person around us. We can't change the neighbor. We can't change the taxi driver, the bus conductor. Why go that far? We cannot even change the nature of our spouse. We cannot change anybody's character or their behavior. But there is one thing we can do. Fix a shock absorber in our mind so that we can traverse the path of life relatively smoothly. It is not that there will not be rough roads, upheavals, potholes, etc. in our life. But their impact will be very low or even negligible if we have the shock absorber. Mind being what it is, it will react, but it will be a manageable reaction. So we must understand, we are not talking about total freedom from reaction. When that's the nature of the mind, whenever it encounters any experience, immediately it will react. It is for us that what they call the knee-jerk reaction to convert that into a manageable reaction. So therefore, we are not talking about total freedom from reaction at all. We say manage the reaction. So manageable reaction means that even when there is a reaction like anger, we are able to manage its intensity. We can make the intensity less. And also the recovery period from the reaction, we can make it short. So what the shock absorber in the mind will do, it will reduce the intensity of the reaction and also shorten the duration of the reaction, just like what the shock absorber does in a car when the car hits a pothole. And there is a very nice Subhashitam which Swami Paramathananda quotes. Uttame kshanakhopasyat madhyame ghatikadvayam adame syad ahoratram papishte maranantakam. In the Uttama Purusha, an evolved person, anger will come, but it is kshanakhopasyat. It will be for a moment. He will recover immediately. Madhyame ghatika dvayam. In a mediocre person, the anger will last for about 1.5 hours. Roughly, I mean, the word ghatika has got different time, reckoning in different contexts. So here it's about 1.5 hours. I think it's about two muhurtams or something like that. I'm not very sure about that, but 1.5 hours. Adame syat ahoratram. In a person of low intellect and weak samskaras, the anger will last throughout the day. Ahoratram, throughout the day and night. Angry with children, angry with spouse, angry at the neighbor, angry at the watchman of the society, shouting at everybody around. This is the quality of a person of low intellect. And papishte maranantaka, in the lowest of the lowest, his anger will continue up to death. Always be angry. Therefore, we have to understand titiksha does not mean total freedom from reaction. Titiksha means the capacity to manage one's own emotion, and such a mind can quietly study Vedanta. Therefore, saha, such a person, kalpate, alone is qualified for what? Amritatvaya. Amritatvam means moksha, liberations, through self-knowledge. He alone is fit for Atmajnanam. He alone is fit for moksha. Therefore, what is the conclusion? One who is discriminative, who accepts situations happily or with all situations with equanimity of mind, who does not allow himself or herself to be swayed by either pleasant or unpleasant situation, is the one who is fit for self-knowledge or who already has got this knowledge. Because once you are pursuing self-knowledge, you have to have the fitness. Once you have got the self-knowledge, this will become your quality. So, in the very first sloka where he is talking about the qualities, Krishna is making it very clear right at the outset. And in his Bhashyakara, in his Bhashyam, Bhashyakara makes it clear that this is just not a matter of practicality. He extends this, what Krishna is saying, to say a wise person knows himself as Atma, one who cannot be affected by any situation. He is Asangaha. And such a person is called Dhira, meaning one who is discriminating, one who has the knowledge of Nitya Atma. So with this, Bhashyakara very nicely introduces the Viveka quality of a wise person. Atma, Anatma, Viveka. Atma, Nitya, Anatma, Anitya. That he introduces. So earlier sloka, if you remember, in the 11th sloka, the word used was Pandita. For a discriminative person, the person who had self-knowledge. Here, Bhagavan Krishna uses using the word Dhira, meaning the one who is not affected by the opposites and who therefore gains moksha, amritatvam. So knowing the Atma as the one that is Nitya, the wise gains moksha. This is the essence of this sloka. And in the next sloka, Bhagavan Krishna further expounds the difference between Atma and Anatma. And this sloka, which is going to come, is a very important and crucial sloka in the entire Bhagavad Gita. As I told you, the second chapter itself is a summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita teaching. And in that approach, the first Krishna takes the philosophical approach here. Then, of course, dharmic approach, then laukika approach will come. But in the philosophical approach, in the Vedantic approach, he is actually packing everything that is important for a person who is a mumukshu. He has to know, he has to understand. So this sloka, you can say, is the essence of, very essence of the entire Vedanta. In fact, Swami Paramahansa says, if you understand this sloka very well, we can consider Vedanta study is over. Of course, we have to have a very high intellect to understand this sloka completely. Because our problem is not understanding, our problem is forgetting that understanding. When we are faced with the real situations, real in the sense that the situations which we come across because of the contact of the sense organs and the sense objects. So that is the importance of the sloka. So I will read the sloka. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Tvanayostattvadarshibhi. Annaya is asatah bhavah na vidyate. Na bhavah satah. Sorry. It should be asatah bhavah na vidyate. Satah abhavah na vidyate. Antah ubayoho api anayoho tu Drishtaha tattva darshibhihi. This is the Anvaya. Asataha. Asataha means here for the unreal. Bhavaha na vidyate. There is no existence. Sataha for the real. Abhavaha na vidyate. There is no non-existence. Antaha, the truth. Ubayoho api anayoho. Of both of these, tu drishtaha is indeed known. Tattva darshibhihi, by the seers of reality. So the short meaning of the sloka is there is no existence for the unreal. There is no non-existence for the real. The truth of both of these is indeed known by the seers of reality. So in the earlier sloka, Krishna had mentioned that Atma is eternal, Nitya, right? And Anatma is temporary or impermanent, of the nature of coming and going. In this verse, which is actually a very terse verse, very compact, and it's actually a very technical verse. One of the deepest verses of Bhagavad Gita, as I told you, Krishna says, Atma is Satya hai and Anatma is Mithya. Atma is real and Anatma is unreal. Atma has independent existence and Anatma has borrowed existence. So therefore, this sloka expounds some of the very, very important terminology which is used in Vedanta. Atma, Anatma, Satyam, Mithya. These are very important terms used in Vedanta. Unless we understand what this is, we will not be making any progress in study of Vedanta. So before going into detail about the word meanings, let us try to understand broadly what this verse is. For this purpose, we have to first understand the difference between unreal and false. Because generally our orientation is that if something is not real, then it is false. We always live in the world of black and white. If something is not the truth, then it is a lie. That is what we never ever contemplate that there could be a gray area between truth and lie. And also in our understanding, all those things which exist and which we are able to experience through our sense organs is real. And we feel that if we cannot experience something, then it does not exist. These are all our current orientation. So, if something is not real, it is false. What we can experience exists. What we cannot experience does not exist. This verse points out the fallacy in our thinking and understanding. So as we saw earlier, every object has got its own intrinsic nature, its own true nature, which we call Swarupa. It is its real nature. As I said, intrinsic. Intrinsic means that you cannot change. True nature. And every object can have a certain nature which is borrowed from outside. And that borrowed nature, we will call it as incidental nature. So two words, intrinsic nature and incidental nature. If you have to use Sanskrit terminology, Swabhavika dharma and Agantuka dharma. Swabhavika dharma means one's own dharma, one's own intrinsic nature. Agantuka dharma is that which is borrowed nature, incidental nature. And whatever is intrinsic in nature will be there all the time. Whereas whatever is incidental in nature will be there only temporarily. So intrinsic nature is permanent, incidental nature is temporary. This is the first thing we have to understand about nature of all the objects. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Suppose we want to make hot water. And we have kept a vessel with water taken from the tap, which is cold, on the fire. Now what will happen? Gradually the vessel will become hot because of its contact with the fire. And because of the contact with the vessel, the water also will start becoming hot. Now suppose we add some rice or vegetables or something we want to cook. We add it to that boiling water. Those things are not hot, but we now add them to the hot water. After some time, the rice or vegetable will also become hot. Now the rice or the vegetable become hot not because of their intrinsic nature, but because of their contact with water. And water is hot not because of its intrinsic nature, but because of its contact with the hot vessel. And the vessel is hot not because of its intrinsic nature, but because of its contact with fire. And fire is hot because it is its intrinsic nature to be hot. I hope you understand this line of thinking. So fire is hot because hotness is the intrinsic nature of fire. It is not hot because of any association or contact, but it is by its own nature, by its swabhavika dharma, fire is hot. Now, if we analyze this process step by step, we will know that the rice or vegetable enjoy heat as an incidental property borrowed from the hot water. Water enjoys heat as an incidental property, agantuka dharma, because it is borrowed from the vessel. Vessel enjoys the heat as an incidental property, agantuka dharma, because it is borrowed from fire. Fire enjoys heat as an intrinsic property, as its very nature, swabhavika dharma. Therefore, the heat in the fire is intrinsic, whereas heat in the vessel, water, rice, or vegetable is incidental. If the heat in the water would have been intrinsic, then you can imagine we would never need a flask. Every time we want hot coffee or tea, no problem. Just go open the tap, hot water will come, add coffee or tea. And another problem is you can never have cold coffee or cold tea, isn't it? Water is always hot. So we have to understand that water's original intrinsic quality is coolness, but now it is hot because it has gained an incidental property. So from this we get a corollary. What is that? Whatever is incidental is borrowed, and therefore it is subject to loss also. It is subject to nashaha. Agamasyat apayi. And that is why the rice or vegetable is hot as long as it is in contact with water, or maybe after for some more time. If we take them out, after some time they become cold. They will lose their heat. Similarly, water is as hot as long as it is in contact with the vessel. If you remove the vessel from the fire, both the vessel and the water in it will become cold. They will lose their hot nature because heat in them was incidental. But now, suppose, how do we know that for fire, hotness is intrinsic? Okay, we will find out that also. We take that fire or whatever is there, that stove, to a very cold atmosphere like Siberia and all that, where the peak winter temperature would go up to minus 150 or 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Will the fire lose its heat there? In fact, people will be going near the fire in order to protect themselves from the cold outside. Fire will not lose its heat. it will still be hot. And if we touch that fire with our bare hands, it will singe the hand. So the fire does not lose heat because heat is intrinsic nature of the fire. Heat is the swabhavika dharma, swabhavika dharma. This is how we have to analyze in Vedanta. What is intrinsic, what is incidental. So what is the law we can derive from this example? What is an incidental property is subject to arrival and departure, whereas what is an intrinsic property is not subject to arrival and departure. If I have to express this in Sanskrit, swabhavika dharma na agacchati, na gacchati. And agama paina is the incidental qualities are agama paina, come and go. So using this principle, whatever is incidental will be subject to arrival and departure, and whatever is intrinsic will not come and go, but remain permanently. And with this, we should now analyze the nature of this entire universe. That is how Vedanta's inquiry proceeds. We know that everything in this universe is perishable, including the distant stars and galaxies, which are all there, they are all perishable. That's why we have got the black holes and all that, isn't it? Any perishable thing is an impermanent thing, and an impermanent thing we know enjoys existence for some time. For a limited period of time, it exists. Even our own body is called impermanent because it exists between the date of birth and date of death. Before the date of birth, the body did not exist, and there will be a time when the body will cease to exist. This is a well-known fact. This is our experience. Therefore, every impermanent thing enjoys existence for some time. This sometime may vary from object to object. We can broadly define this sometime as the period between the date of creation and the date of ceasing to exist. Therefore, between the date of their creation and after the or before the date of their cessation, all permanent things enjoy existence for some time, not before nor later. If this is true, now let us apply that law to what is an incidental property. So what is an incidental property is subject to arrival and departure, and what is an intrinsic property is not subject to arrival and departure. Therefore, if existence was an intrinsic property of every object in the world, they would have enjoyed existence all the time, just as fire enjoys heat all the time. They would never have become non-existence. And we have also found that every object in the world is perishable, that is impermanent. Therefore, we can conclude that all the objects in this world, including our physical body, are impermanent things, and in existence is their incidental property and not an intrinsic property. Therefore, what is the most important conclusion? All impermanent things do not have existence as their nature. Since they exist, our experience is they exist. They have existence as their incidental nature. That existence must be borrowed existence. Borrowed from a source which has a permanent existence. A source for which existence is the intrinsic property. Isn't it? That's a logic. If somebody is living in a palatial house, and you know that just about a few months ago, this fellow was penniless. Suddenly he has got a palatial house. you can come to the conclusion that he must have borrowed a huge sum of money. Right conclusion only. We don't want to go into imagine anything else. Borrowed a good amount of money to get a palatial house. But borrowed from whom? From a permanent source of money, which in the example could be a bank or a financial institution, for which the money is an intrinsic property. I'm just giving a very broad example. Don't extend this example beyond what it is meant for. Therefore, any impermanent thing does not enjoy existence as its real nature. It only enjoys borrowed existence. And this is what is called mithya or unreal. So mithya or unreal does not mean false. Mithya or unreal does not mean non-existent. So the definition of mithya is the definition of unreality, which is anything that does not enjoy existence as its real nature, but it enjoys existence only by borrowing, is mithya or what we call unreal, asataha. Whereas what is permanent enjoys existence as its very intrinsic nature. That means it does not borrow existence, and that is defined as satyam. So satyam is a thing which has intrinsic existence. Mithya is a thing with borrowed existence. This is what we have to understand about Vedanta very well. If we understand this, we will never ever wonder why Vedanta says this whole world is unreal. Because the word unreal or a mithya has got a certain connotation in our mind of our own making. Without our understanding what Vedanta wants to convey, what Upanishad wants to convey through these words Satyam and Mithya, we have our own understanding, and then on the basis of that, lot of people criticize Advaita Vedanta. So this is the example, a Laukika example I gave. Now Shastra gives an example from a Shastric point of view, a Shastric example. And that is there in Chandogya Upanishad. Here Shvetaketu, he is a Brahmin boy. His father is explaining what is Satyam to Shvetaketu. He says, Yata somya ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijnatam syat vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam mrittika ityeva satyam. Beautifully defining what is satyam. There is a lump of clay. The lump of clay is converted into a pot. Until now, if somebody asks whether the pot is there or not, we will say there is no pot. And after the clay is shaped into a pot, we would say there is a pot. Now suppose the pot breaks and becomes pieces of clay. So the pot is no longer there, it loses its existence as pot, and we would say there is no pot. So the pot enjoyed temporary existence. Since it was a temporary existence, an impermanent existence, we would say it is not intrinsic to pot. Pot enjoyed a temporary existence and it was a borrowed existence. Now the question will be, if the pot enjoyed a temporary existence, and that temporary existence was a borrowed existence, that existence was borrowed from where? Is the question. The answer is, it was borrowed from the clay. Because before the pot was there, clay was there. When the pot was there, also clay was there. After the pot was broken, clay continues to be there. So clay alone lends existence to the pot. This is the Shastric example. So we will, I think, stop here at 7 o'clock. We'll continue in the next class because I want to deal with this sloka in detail so that, from a Vedanta point of view, this is a very important sloka and we need to understand all the implications of this sloka. Okay, I'll say the prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you so much, Guruji.
Thank you.
Namaskaram, Guruji. Thank you.
Guruji.
Thank you very much. Hari Om.
Thank you, Guruji. How are you feeling today, Guruji?
Better compared to yesterday.
Okay, very good, Guruji.
Yeah, much better compared to yesterday.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Namaskaram, Acharya ji. Thank you.
Hari Om. Pranam. Thank you.
So whatever you have taken today, you will repeat it in the next class, isn't it?
I may not repeat everything, but I will highlight the important points, but then continue this discussion because this needs to be understood thoroughly. Now, our whole problem in life is this only. We take everything as real and then suffer because of that. We have to understand what we mean by real, what is satyam, what is mithya. Once we understand and set it in our mind, very firmly set it, then we can have a more objective outlook towards everything that is there in the world, towards relationship, towards objects, towards experiences, towards situations, everything. I will certainly highlight maybe, the first couple of minutes, what are the important ones, and then go on to further expound this. Because both Swami Paramathanandaji, more than that, Puja Swamiji has expounded this sloka very well. So I would like to share, some of their, I'm not going to repeat all that they have said, but the important points from what they have made, I'm going to share it with you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. I think it will require that. Thank you.
It's a revision for me also. When I say that. Yes, Hari.
Oh, Hari ji is asking a question.
Hari Om. You will teach us what is false in the next class.
What is?
False. Real, unreal, and false.
Yeah. I will explain. I mean, false is a word that we have created. False is totally non-existent. What is false? Shastra gives the example like the horns of a man. Or rather, it says a shashashringa. The rabbit's horns. False. Doesn't exist at all. Right?
Yeah.
So we have three stages. Satyam, Mithya, and the word is used tucha, which I will deal with it in the next class.
Okay, then.
I will deal with that in tucha in the next class. The three words are there. We have to understand the difference between these three.
Okay.
Pandya putraha, they says, the son of a barren woman. False. Doesn't exist at all. Even there is no borrowed existence for that. So there are three things which exist intrinsically. Existence is there. Temporary existence is there, which is totally non-existent. So the difference between these three things is what Vedanta is all about. And our focus should be on what is intrinsically, what is existence intrinsically. And that is what we are. Our nature is intrinsically, we are existent. That is why we are eternal. All this Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi and all. Eventually, you have to derive this for understanding the meaning of that. We'll deal with that. Next class, I will deal with Tucha also. Yeah, certainly. Any other question? Lataji, you had a question?
Namaste, Guruji. Not question exactly. It is the Shastra uses only mainly these two terms, Guruji, Satya and Mithya.
Yeah.
There are also is it in the lecture I've heard, I'm not sure. There's something called Paramarthika Satya and Vyavaharika
Yeah,
Satya.
that is a further explanation. In fact, I will deal with that also.
Okay.
Because that is based upon Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara has dealt with that. What do we mean by this? Right? Because all said and done, one needs to satisfy one's intellect about all these things, isn't it? You cannot just say Shastra is saying this, so you accept like this, like that. You cannot say. So one needs to go deep into it. So I will deal with that also. What is Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, then Pratibhasika, 3 levels of reality.
Okay.
So that again is another area we have to understand, because that's why I said this Sataha and Asataha is the fundamental of this entire Vedanta. If we understand Vedanta from all these dimensions, then our problem understanding is complete about our self. What this self is about, what part of this self is Satyam, what part of this self is Mithya, and what part of this self is actually what we can call Pratibhasika part. All that we have to, once we understand, we will not get disturbed by the what I can call the transference problem. Say, trying to transfer what is Mithya into Satyam and what is Pratibhasika into Vyavaharika. All that confusion, our confusion in life is all because we are mixing up all these things. So one needs to understand them separately, understand how the whole thing is. Self-knowledge is nothing but that only. It does not say self-knowledge means only Atma Jnanam. No, you have a Jnanam of your body also. But have the right Jnanam of your body. What is this body? That you have Jnanam. And we have to analyze our experiences in 3 states. Waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. That also needs to be analyzed to understand the reality of what is reality, what is Mithya, what is Satyam, what is Paramarthika, what is Pratibhasika. So much of analysis has to be done and understood. We will deal with all these things through Bhagavad Gita, depending upon what Bhagavan Krishna is leading us, which topic, we will do all that.
All right.
Most of them will be covered in 2nd chapter only in a very broad level. And then further on, we will go on wherever the topic comes, we will expound it more. Yeah.
Okay, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Anybody else? Question, comment, observation? Nothing is there. Then we'll close the session.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hari Om. Thank you very much, all of you. See you next time. Thank you. Hari Om.